and waiting for the bangers that go out of town. Personally, I mean,
or
like I've
or
got some,
multi-state.
yeah, I've got some crazy ones before. So I mean, like I've made like almost a week's worth of money in a day. You know,
See,
it's
that's the
it's
type of
it's
money that's the type of money I'm looking for. That's the type of money, man.
everybody wants a week's worth in a day. See,
Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, but again, that day is that's a long day. That's like driving
Hmm.
across the state of Colorado and then all the
Hmm.
way back, and you might just say, well, but how many hours? It's just a lot of concentrated time driving. A lot of times for the gig apps, you're more just sitting there doing nothing. You're idle, and what I call wasted time. You're just kind of multi-apping, waiting for an offer on any of them to come through that looks even halfway decent to you. I'd much rather take one big one, put the miles on my, because people always say to me, but you're putting all these miles on your car. Yeah, but dude, when it comes to it, here's the bottom line, guys. If I can make that much more money, I'd rather just trade in the car every couple of years.
Well, here's the thing about the car talk. Yeah, I get that about questions about gas and miles and all. But you got to remember, when you drive your car away from that transaction, it's already dropped a third in value. Number one, and number two, your vehicle is you're going to make more with your vehicle putting it in use than you'll ever get when you try to sell it or trade it in. So you might as well make use of it. It's just a matter of I, I'd rather get the money. I'd rather get the money for it. And I know that you got to there's maintenance and all that stuff, but if you don't drive like a bat out of hell, you're not abusing your vehicle. You're gonna get your money's worth out of the vehicle. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the way I describe it to people when they get confronted with that is I say, you're driving your car around and you're not making any money off of it. I'm cashing mine in. You're driving your car around losing value. Mine's losing value, but I'm also cashing in on that value that I'm losing
Right? You're getting something
via the
back
pay
for
I'm
it.
getting.
Yeah.
And when I write off my mileage at the end of the year, when I do my
Hmm.
taxes, I'm getting money back on that too. So, with the deductions. So you're making out way ahead of anyone that would just normally be driving their car around every day for going back and forth to work or whatever, because they can't write off that mileage and they're not getting paid for that commuting time. Where if you're carrying a load, you're making money.
Right. And that's the other thing. If anybody's followed me, I say mileage is a 1099's best friend.
It is.
Yep.
It's a
I mean, it
1099's
really
best
is,
friend.
guys. I mean, it's because some people are stretching on what they can write off. Let's be honest. In fact, some of you are writing off stuff that just you can't do. I'm sorry. I
At
don't know
least
if
you
you
shouldn't
mean to
do.
be the one to
You
burst
shouldn't
your
do.
bubble, but right,
Yeah.
you
And,
really don't want to.
and
Because
almost
here's the way I put it: be ready to explain everything you write off.
That's right. That is right because I have had an audit years ago, almost 20 years ago, and what it was is that I claimed mileage and then I claimed for oil changes and maintenance, and I went from thinking that I was going to get back $800 to where they're going to hit me for a $600 bill. Well, fortunately, I had all this documentation, and I came away with just a pat on the wrist by having to owe 800 for that year. And from what I understand from IRS attorneys, that was a victory to go from 8,000 to 6,000 to $800 owed. But you're going to claim one or the other. It's going to be mileage or your maintenance, mileage or
Yeah,
your gas.
yeah,
and
um,
mileage is almost always going to be way more. It's always the mileage
Mhm.
deduction is almost way
yeah.
over the expenses in my
Oh,
experience,
yeah,
anyways. And I've been doing this since 2014, so
Mhm.
yeah. I actually did Dana. I know you do a couple tax things too, but I had my
yep,
girl on just a couple weeks back because she's a tax accountant. So
yeah. Listen to that one.
um, yeah, so she actually knows what she's talking about. A lot of these channels I know just kind of ramble off. It drives me nuts when I see some people doing tax informations because they know it's a
Right.
good title to grab in the audience, and I'm like, dude, don't clickbait on taxes. Come on, man. Like if you aren't a professional, don't be giving advice
Well, the
and
one
make
thing I will
you
say,
know.
go ahead, go ahead, Steve. I
Well, I
apologize.
mean, that's pretty much it. Is like, like you can go out there and say, hey, this is my opinion. I've done this. I've been doing it since 2015. Here's how I do it,
Mhm.
but I'm no pro.
Mhm.
That's why I brought a
Well,
pro on.
one thing that I'll say as a 1099, the best situation to be in is breaking even or owing something. at least as a 1099. Then you'll never be in the crosshairs of an audit. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. I mean,
you're
as
old.
long as you're not doing anything weird other than that too.
Right. I mean, now if you turn around and looking for a $3,000 return, you're going to ask. You just put yourself up for an audit. But by and large, I mean, even as a 1099, you're going to probably end up paying self-employment tax. Even if you may not have a tax obligation based on your taxable income, you will have that self-employment tax to pay.
So, and that's what 12.3%.
Whatever.
That's
That's
a big percent.
15.3.
Yeah, for both Social Security and Medicaid. But here's something too, because Dana does. I think I know you did, but I think you still do. Is a driver's ed teacher.
Yes, I am. Yep.
So he actually gives people there. He decides whether you get your license or not, guys. So, but I will say this, and maybe you have a better statistic on it than me, but I always am looking for information on this and always talking about it a little bit on the side. Is that you're much more likely to be in an accident in the city or doing these short trips all the time. If you're just in the little network, your stats of getting in an accident go way up.
Yep.
If you're on the highway doing highway miles, or you're using like, kind of like construction type worker type roads, they go way down. So
it would all be based on just the sheer amount of vehicles you would encounter while you're on the road, basically. So the more you're around the city, the more vehicles you're going to encounter, the more risk there is.
Yeah.
To not